policy speech.
A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%. Many of the big food companies are seeing their highest profits in 2 decades. And while many grocery chains pass along these savings, others still aren't. Look, I know most businesses are creating jobs, contributing to our economy, and playing by the rules. But some are not. And that's just not right. And we need to take action when that is the case. Under my plan, more than 100 million Americans will get a tax cut, and we will do this by restoring 2 tax cuts designed to help middle-class and working Americans. The Earned Income Tax Credit and the Child Tax Credit. Through which millions of Americans with children got to keep more of their hard-earned income. We know this works and has a direct impact on so many issues, including child poverty. We know it works. So as president, I'll not only restore that tax cut, but expand it. We will provide $6,000 in tax relief to families during the first year of a child's life. I'll lower the cost of insulin and prescription drugs for everyone with your support, not only our seniors. And demand transparency from the middlemen who operate between Big Pharma and the insurance companies who use opaque practices to raise your drug prices and profit off your need for medicine. There's a serious housing shortage. In many places, it's too difficult to build, and it's driving prices up. As president, I will work in partnership with industry to build the housing we need, both to rent and to buy. We will take down barriers and cut red tape, including at the state and local levels. And by the end of my first term, we will end America's housing shortage by building 3 million new homes and rentals that are affordable for the middle class. While we work on the housing shortage, my administration will provide first-time home buyers with $25,000 to help with the down payment on a new home. We can do this. We can do this.
All right, so I played about 5 minutes of that for a good reason, because I want you to compare that to a sampling of what Donald Trump said yesterday. Don't worry, I won't give you 5 minutes of it. To what Donald Trump said yesterday, what was supposed to be a press conference about lowering costs.
Do you want to see a bird cemetery? Just go under a windmill. You see thousands of birds dead. The bald eagle, if you kill an eagle, they put you in jail for years. And yet these windmills knock them out like nothing. And nothing happens to the people.
Pro tip from an economy guy. When you hold an event on the economy, the words bird cemetery should probably never come out of your mouth. North Carolina Democrats are hoping Harris can help Democrats down ballot as well. By the way, our first guest, the North Carolina Attorney General and the Democratic candidate for governor, Josh Stein, is working to defeat the extreme Mark Robinson, with whom Donald Trump campaigned in Asheville, North Carolina, earlier this week.
When we win, we will defeat Mark Robinson. And when we win, we will elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as president and vice president of the United States. So let's do it. Let's use our power. Let's work and let's win.
Donald Trump heaped praise on Mark Robinson in North Carolina on Wednesday, even after Mark Robinson's anti-Semitic, anti-Muslim, racist, homophobic, misogynistic remarks about which we and others have reported. That's the kind of stuff Donald Trump does that leads reporters to ask about a campaign pivot. J.D. Vance got that question today in Wisconsin.
Some allies of former President Trump have said in recent days he needs to focus more on policy, just like you talked about, less personal attacks. I'm curious, have you had that conversation with him, and does he need to pivot, especially when you look to swing states like Wisconsin?
I don't think the president needs to pivot, and if I told him that, I can guess what he'd say. I think the unscripted nature of President Trump is one of the reasons why his campaign gives a pretty good insight into the kind of president that he's going to be.
You think? Since 2016, Donald Trump has given us more than a, quote, pretty good insight, end quote, into the kind of president he was and will be again. It's perhaps an honest take from J.D. Vance that, no, Trump can't or won't become a different person. And no, J.D. Vance can't or won't stand up to him. So Trump won't change. And the Harris campaign probably won't either, after Donald Trump admitted she's getting under his skin.
She actually called me weird. He's weird. It was just a soundbite. And she called J.D. and I weird. He's not weird. I mean, you have him saying they're weird. No, he's a weird guy. And she's weird in her policy.
As usual, Trump eclipsed his own weird, aggrieved comments by praising a Republican billionaire in contrast to U.S. service members who've been wounded or killed. You heard that right. It's so outrageous, I'm going to do an entire segment on it later in the show. Kamala Harris could very well make history again in North Carolina and win that state's 16 electoral college votes. That's as many electoral college votes as Georgia and one more than Michigan has, which would help give the Harris-Walz campaign multiple paths to victory in November. A recent poll from Cook Political Poll of North Carolina shows the vice president leading Donald Trump by 2 points. In laying out her economic agenda, Vice President Harris offered a clear choice between her plan and Donald Trump's.
2 days ago, Donald Trump was here in North Carolina. He said he was going to talk about the economy. I think you all watched. You know what I'm about to say. But he offered no serious plans to reduce costs for middle-class families. No plan to expand access to housing or health care. And that, actually, I think for most of us, was not surprising. Because we already know his plans. We know the Project 2025 agenda. He wants to impose what is, in effect, a national sales tax on everyday products and basic necessities that we import from other countries. That will devastate Americans. It will mean higher prices on just about every one of your daily needs. A Trump tax on gas, a Trump tax on food, a Trump tax on clothing, a Trump tax on over-the-counter medication. He plans to give billionaires massive tax cuts year after year. And he plans to cut corporate taxes by over $1 trillion, even as they pull in record profits. And that's on top of the $2 trillion tax cut he already signed into law when he was president, which, by the way, overwhelmingly went to the wealthiest Americans and corporations and exploded the national deficit. You know, I think that if you want to know who someone cares about, look who they fight for. Look who they fight for.
Joining us now is North Carolina Attorney General Josh Stein. He's the Democratic nominee to become the state's next governor. Attorney, good to see you. Attorney General, good to see you. It's been a while. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Absolutely, Ali. Thanks.
Your campaign in the state of North Carolina against your opponent for governor, who's the current lieutenant governor, mirrors the national campaign because you have an awful lot of weird going on in your state and your opponent's candidate. But it actually helps because your messaging to help bring North Carolina into the Democratic column on November 5th is the same messaging now that the Harris-Walz campaign is there.
Extremely similar. We're talking about two competing visions. You know, ours, it's about fighting for people. It's forward-looking. It's positive. It's about tapping the potential of every person so that together we can build a better and brighter future. The vision of my opponent, Mark Robinson, is about fighting job-killing culture wars. It's division, violence, and hate. He says awful things about people, says women are not called to lead, calls public school teachers wicked and demons, says that gay people are filth, and even worse insults than that. And just a few weeks ago, from of all places, a church pulpit, he said that some folks need killing. But it is not just what he says, it's what he would do. Gut public schools, make it harder for people to vote, and completely ban abortion. We have to put people first. That's what my campaign is about. That is what the vice president's campaign is about. And I think the voters are very excited about those opportunities.
Talk to me about, obviously it's of mutual benefit to both you and the president and vice presidential candidates. But which one draws out voters more? There are a whole bunch of things going on, including since the last election you had, an effort by you and the governor to extend abortion rights, and a remarkable effort by your supermajority Republican state legislature to ban abortion. So there's a lot of things that are going to get voters out, and that's going to be the difference in North Carolina between winning and losing.
Yeah, the issues folks are talking about as I travel the state are making sure the economy works for everyone. That's what the vice president came to Raleigh about, to shine a bright light on. It's about having strong public schools with excellent and well-paid teachers. You know, we are 49th in the country in funding effort now. They've dropped us that low. It's an absolute disgrace. They want to have a healthcare system that's affordable and accessible. And then, of course, they want to have their personal freedoms respected. The Republican General Assembly has dramatically restricted women's access to reproductive health care so that now the Republicans want to make decisions for women about when they should have a child. Voters do not like that, and that is an important issue in this campaign. You know, my opponent, Mark Robinson, wants a total ban on abortion without any exceptions. He said the most vile things, saying that women have abortions because they can't keep their skirts down.
Yep.
I mean, it's outrageous and disrespectful. Voters want to have opportunity and freedom, and that's what we're going to give them.
Attorney General, I want to ask you about something that Donald Trump told North Carolina Spectrum News, that local police would be given prominent roles in a mass deportation plan. Donald Trump suggested that local police would be given prominent roles in his mass deportation strategy, saying that law enforcement agencies would be given authority. You are the Attorney General of that state. That is not a power that the president has to be able to empower local law enforcement to do anything like that, nor is it an authority that local police around this country have to enforce immigration matters.
Yeah, law enforcement, I talk with them all the time as Attorney General. They want to do everything in their power to keep their community members safe. That is not a priority for them. It would distract them from the important work of going after violent crime, of arresting dangerous people, of solving cold cases. You know, we just eliminated what had been the largest backlog of untested rape kits in the entire country. And now we are solving cold cases, making people's communities safer as a result.
Attorney General Josh Stein, good to see you. Thank you for joining us this evening. I know it's a busy time for you, so we appreciate the time you made for us.
Thanks, Ali.